Hey everybody, how are you this evening?
Great.
Good. Well, I'm happy to be here. I've been, as George said, Pastor George said, I've been working with him for just a little while, and excited to be able to be with you all because we all know that Open Table is not just George; it is each and every single one of you, and I'm very pleased to be able to experience the full expression of this entire church. And I'm happy to have my friend Terrell with me, who is from the upper room, as George mentioned. She's a great colleague, and if you know, the upper room is just right up the street for you guys. So if you are not familiar with the offerings and the things that are happening there, then be sure and engage her by the end of the evening. So sometimes we are in congregations and we don't know that we're a part of a larger family. And many of you may or may not know that you're a part of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ. And so with the Christian Church, I work to head up all of our new church efforts, and 20 years ago our denomination made a big push towards doing some pretty courageous things. We decided we were going to develop new leaders. We are going to be an anti-racist, pro-reconciling denomination. We decided we were going to revitalize and transform 1,000 congregations, and we also made a bold decision to start 1,000 new churches 1,000 different ways. And a part of that push, as far as starting 1,000 churches, I'm happy to be a part of that initiative. And you all are one of those churches that are in that 1,000. Anybody want to guess exactly how close we've gotten to the 1,000 in this 20 years? We had 20 years to make it to 1,000. How many did we do? Matter of fact, I'll give $1,000 to whomever can get the number. George can't answer.
Let me warn you too, Terrell. 2 weeks ago, I told them.
All right, thank you. Excellent. Okay, well, what number did George tell you?
Let's do 1,031.
Yes. Oh my God. Almost yes. All right, but nevertheless, we all get to celebrate that we made it past our goal early for 2020, and yes, almost gave out that $1,000. I saw your hand just fly really quickly. Like, I know this number and everything. So fantastic. 1,031 churches. This is so great. And so we still going to do more new churches. Matter of fact, I'd love for you all to start thinking about starting some new churches. I can identify some amazing people I love to train to start churches. And so we want to think about that, because can you imagine life without children or without grandchildren? No. Same thing with churches. We have to think about doing more and more and more new churches, and start very early. Everyone I meet, I don't care how young they are, I say, hey, would you like to start a church? And so I'm always pushing that. I think you could start a church, my friend. I would love to come to a church of people who just hear more about what you think church should be, and come and visit exactly what that might look like. So if you do that, then let me know. Will you send me an invitation? Sure. Fantastic. So the thing about these type of goals that I do not care for is when they have this temporal element to them, that it's like, okay, we're done, we're good with that. Well, a couple of years ago, it came opportunity for God to speak to me and say, so this is what we're going to do next. And on the horizons of what we might do next came an even more, as far as we're concerned, audacious goal. Okay, and God took me to the 9th chapter of Mark, where there's this story about a father who took his son to the disciples because the son had been dealing with an illness per se, but actually he believed that this is a demonic possession that was happening with his son, because it was making him have seizures and throwing him into the water, trying to drown him, throwing him in the fire, trying to kill him, and all this stuff is happening with this man's son. And as that's happening, the father is concerned about his son. Says it's been going on since he was a young boy. And so he takes it to the disciples, say, hey, will you heal my son? And they couldn't do it. So he took it to Jesus, like, I asked your friends if they could do this, and they couldn't do it. And so Jesus says, oh my goodness, how much longer should I suffer you people? All right, bring the boy to me. And so the father brings him to him, and he touches him, and ultimately the boy is free from the demon. Okay, and then the Jesus turns towards the Father and deals with the Father, and the Father, of course, tries to project this on the disciples, like, well, they couldn't do this, but Jesus actually deals with the Father, says, you know, if you believe all things are possible, then it's true. And before that, the Father has this audacious to say, well, you know, Jesus, if you can deliver him, then do it. Can you imagine that? The nerve of this man to say to Jesus, like, well, if you can, you know, then go ahead and do it. And so Jesus says, if, almost say, well, of course I can. It's not a matter if I believe, it's a matter if you, or if I can, it's a matter if you believe. And then the Father says, well, I believe, but kind of help me with my unbelief. And so then later, Jesus takes his disciples in a room in private and reprimands them for not being able to do that. And so in the midst of that, God said, well, really, I think what's happening is that there's a lack of belief. People are not believing anymore for whatever reason. There's all these things combating our belief. And so in this new vision, deal with unbelief. And so one way that God decided to deal with our unbelief is setting this huge goal before us that will be something that almost will be impossible. And so here's the new goal. Now that we have done 1,000 new churches, here's the new number that is set before us by God. And today I want to help us and challenge us to decide if we want to be a part of this new thing that God is doing through our church. Okay? So the new number is 1 million. It's not 1 million churches. Not that God couldn't see us being a part of starting 1 million churches, but it's 1 million new disciples. God wants us to be a part of a movement to start welcoming new disciples. So what does that mean to welcome new disciples? First, we have to identify if any of you are actual disciples. Are you a follower of Jesus? Are you a learner of Jesus? This is what it means to be a disciple. And so if you say that you are them, then now it's a matter of going out and getting more people who will also follow Jesus and learn of Jesus. And there's this thing in church that we do, or in religions that we do, that put the onus of making new disciples or bringing people to church in on the pastor. That is not the way things are supposed to work. The pastor is not the sole or primary person to help people come to relationship with Christ. It is each and every one of you, no matter what you look like, what your age is, what your occupation is, any part of you, none of that matters. We all are responsible for the expansion of the kingdom. And so we must do our part in that. We will not make it to 1 million if we're not all participating. We all have to decide, I am going to be a part of this great movement. I'm going to tell more people about Christ. I'm going to maybe invite them to church. But before I do that, I'm going to spend time with them, a relationship with them myself, and really try to figure out how we can do that. Now, sometimes the biggest barrier to being able to do that is differences. We don't like to always engage people with whom we're different. And later in the scripture, Paul kind of deals with this notion of differences.